Shalom, Yasharallah. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahuwah, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and I rule well. And salutation and much love for you, I can push this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here article real quick. As we see, Russia is still preparing themselves and still ready in the armies. All right. They're still in developments of these new, long-range missile systems and defense systems and things like that. All right. And, they're just moving along according to prophecy. All right. So let's read this here article. It's actually two of them, but we'll just read this one. It says Russia could sell advanced. Now, the other article was going into the fact that they have this here missile about to go into production, or about to actually be set out into the battlefield. All right. So it says Russia could sell advanced S-500 anti-aircraft missile launchers to China and India despite potential U.S. ire. It says a high-tech new Russian air defense system that has sparked fears for NATO warplanes could soon be shipped to China and India under the terms of new export deals being considered by military industrial bosses in Moscow. And now one thing they're not going to really touch on in this here article is the fact that, with the talks of these hypersonic missiles, all right, that America's trying to develop. All right. A lot of these missiles, they'll go into what they call like Earth's upper orbit or lower orbit or something like that. Basically where the satellites and things go. All right. That's another thing they're not going to really talk about, that this missile is going to be able to, hit things at that height, things that are like the satellites and things like that, and which that's a big communication part. And the way a lot of these long range missile systems work off of what they call like GPS, basically. All right. So if you can knock down their communications, is an old military tactic. All right. Cut off communications. All right. You have an army of, let's say, 1 million troops. Right. You have them in different locations. Now, let's say the enemy is coming in to bomb them. All right. Now you watching the radar. All right. And you see the enemy coming in and you trying to communicate to your troops on the ground like, hey, y'all need to move, take cover. They coming in with the bombs, but they've already cut your radio communication or any kind of communication. They're pretty much sitting ducks. All right. So it's, one of the main things you would need is communication. So and this thing is able to take down satellites, not to mention, if, America was to shoot nukes over there, they could hit them before they even re-enter into the atmosphere. All right. It says, speaking to Business Daily RBK on Tuesday, Dmitry Sergey, the director of Federal Service for Military Technical Cooperation, said that deploying the advanced S-500 launcher to the country's own defense forces will be the first priority. However, when the system has been delivered to the Russian army in the required volume, it will also be possible to supply it for export, he said. All right, and this is going right along with the scriptures, all right, and going into Ezekiel 38, being a guard unto them, preparing thyself, all right. We consider India as well as China and all the states which we have a long-standing and predictable partnership as potential future owners of the system, Sergey went on. The day before Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that the first S-500 anti-aircraft launchers would be handed over to combat troops in the next few years under plans to modernize the country's military equipment. Moscow has touted the S-500 as the most advanced weapon of its kind, capable of taking out high-speed warplanes, even potentially hypersonic weapons in near-Earth orbit. All right. So like I said, even as America's trying to create these hypersonic missiles, they're already a step behind. All right. They can't even get, the hypersonic missile together, let alone to try to, advance it. You got the 1.0, now the 2.0. All right. Because the 1.0 would be basically just to get it at hypersonic speed to be able to move it from one place to the other place, from your launch pad to your target. That would be phase one. But they can't even get phase one down packed. And now, let alone Russia's got something to already render their phase one obsolete, like dealing with, let's say, to flip it around, the Satan 1 versus the Satan 2 missile from Russia, right? The Satan 1, it's a big ass missile, right, with multiple warheads on the inside, but once it's launched, you know what I'm saying, it's pretty much gonna, it's on a trajectory rate to where if you were able to be quick enough to shoot your missiles off in the same path, hypothetically, you'd be able to hit it. Well, we know America's systems aren't even hitting at a 50% range, the THAAD and the Patriot system. All right. So, you know, the Satan 1 has an advantage over that. But however, the Satan 2 missile pretty much is the same missile, a little longer range. I think they can hold a couple more warheads. But one of the most improvements that they have is the fact that once the missile is launched, all right, again, if the other side launch a missile on this trajectory rate, the Satan 2 missile can slow down, like while it's mid-flight. It can slow down, it can speed up, it can change course, it can move to the left, if it can move to the right, it can fly higher, it can fly lower. All right, this is to like I said, because once the other missile is launched off, those missiles, they can't really change trajectory rates. All right, they're going to stay in their same path. You know, once they take flight, you know, it's just like you taking a gun and shooting a gun. Once you shoot the gun, you know, you facing at a target, you know, a standstill target down range, you know, you got to pretty much line up your sight, shoot the gun, and that bullet's going to travel on that path. Now imagine you standing still in one place, all right, and you trying to hit a target that's moving left and right, left and right, left and right. Once the bullet leaves the barrel, you don't have anything to sway the bullet. They had that movie, what was it, Salt or Most Wanted or something. It was one of the movies, I think, with Angelina Jolie, where they could like swing their hand around as they shooting the gun, and the bullet will curve and everything like that. They don't really have anything quite like that as far as with these missiles, except for Russia. All right, like I said, the Satan 2 missile. All right, and now they also have these nuclear powered cruise missiles that they have an unlimited fuel supply, and they can constantly change their path, go higher, go lower. You know, so you really can't hit them out the sky unless you have the same type of capability. All right, to sit there and keep following it, keep tracking it. All right. But nevertheless, and this is, you know, like I said, this is already one step ahead of what America already has with their quote unquote 1.0 hypersonic missile. All right, trying to just get it from the launcher to the target. All right, America can't even succeed in that, let alone if, you know, you have missiles that can sit there and take it out. All right. So it says, however, exports of the Russian rocket technology have caused concern in the U.S., with Washington slapping tough sanctions on countries that have placed orders for the system's predecessors, the S-400. Even Turkey, a NATO member, has faced restrictions that have been shut out of the American procurement program in response to its decisions to explore purchasing the launcher. All right, in which, you know, as an update, Turkey is pretty much signed another deal, all right, to get even more S-400s, all right, now, which is crazy because, like they said, Turkey is a NATO member, all right, but they on a slippery slope with America right now because, you know, back in the days they was already putting those threats on them about getting these S-400s, all right. Let me read this here last paragraph, and then I'll actually go into it. It says, General Todd Walters of the U.S. European Command and NATO Supreme Ally Commander in Europe said that the system would attempt to exploit the F-35 capabilities. Regardless of which side of the battlefield it was on, you cannot operate the F-35 in the vicinity of the S-400, he said, despite reports that the Israeli Air Force has flown the jets close to the missile launchers in Syria with no issues. In which I believe that I may be mistaken, but nope. I think that Syria does have the S-400. I think Venezuela has the S-300. But nevertheless, you know, now they have claimed to have you know, flown these planes by. Now, the problem with having these two items next to one another is the fact of not necessarily. Now, what they're talking about here with the S-400 and the F-35 and Syria situation, the Israelis, right? Basically, it's just worried about them shooting it down because they could see it and they could shoot it down. However, and that's with the this portion that you see on the screen, right? The battery system with the missiles and everything else like that. But the S-400 is more than just this here truck that you see here and just the missiles there. All right, one of the real big major defining pieces with it, you know, you have multiple pieces. So as they do these upgrades with these systems, really the thing that's being upgraded is the how do you say, the radars, all right, and the way that the radars can scan. You know, they had one way of radar scanning where it was just like sending a wave outward, you know, in a certain type of direction. You know, you got, you know, like an antenna or a satellite dish. Is the way it's facing is the way that it's reading, all right. Whereas like the S-400 system basically has like a dome-like satellite range. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty much in a dome. Now they have multiple different, where they can connect multiple different radar systems. So you can have like 10, you can have one truck that has like a let's just say for easy math, all right, not saying this is the actual measurements, but let's just say for easy math, one of these S-400 radar trucks has a dome radius of, let's just say hypothetically, a mile. Right now, they can connect that truck radar system in like a chain link to another truck that's like right outside that mile wide radius. All right, let's say you have 4 of them or 5 of them, and you could set them up in an array to have this radius that much more bigger. All right, and they can communicate that way. All right, now that's one part which is getting the upgrade, and that's one of the main things that gets upgraded. But then you also have, the missiles, they're interchangeable for one. You can have defensive missiles, then you can actually put these nukes on there, right? But nevertheless, the range as well. That's another thing that's getting further and further with these things, like with the S-500. The range, with that system, they pretty much increase the range of the missile itself. All right, so going back down to the importance of not having these two together, all right, is the radar. If you had these planes sitting still, like let's say hypothetically, Turkey with the S-400, all right, have it parked somewhere and they have some F-35. Let's say they have, they would have it on a base, all right, around to, because it's a military defense system. So they don't want nobody raining missiles down on their planes, which would be the F-35. So they would be on the same base. Now, if you turn the S-400 on, all right, to be able to protect your area with the radar, that radar is going to be able to start scanning the things around it. Now, with this here thing, it's like, what was that movie called? Transformers. Now, when the Transformers came around, they could scan any type of like mechanical type of thing, like a car or something like that, and get all the specs from it, and they could change into that. They can, find out all of the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses and everything else like that. It'll get into the systems and pretty much hack the system. Not to say hack the system to take it over, but it'll be able to find its vulnerabilities and everything else like that to make it to where not only can they see it on the radar, they can make it that much more recognizable and things like that, so to say. It's just like, if you know about going through toll booths, right? If you got a old school toll booth, you're going through the toll booth. The first way of going through is like you just run the damn toll. There's a person inside the toll booth. They would have to see your license plate and remember that as fast as you're going. That system is kind of faulty. That's the old way of doing things, right? Then they put like little cameras up, you know what I'm saying, to take pictures and things like that of your license plate, which is like, it's a lot faster. Once you go through there, they got your license plate on file, and with your license plate, what can we do? We can look up your address and we can send you a bill or a ticket in the mail. So that's pretty much, the fact of the matter. It's like, back in the olden days with the older systems, S-300 and things like that, it'd be like you just running the toll booth, all right? And the person in the toll booth would have to be quick enough to read your license plate and write it down and have to go forth from there. But now with this new S-400, bro, if you bring your car anywhere near that damn toll booth, them cameras is going to pick up on your shit. They got a front camera to get your face in there. They got a back camera to get your license plate and another camera to get your whole car. And then they're going to just send you a bill in the mail with all the proof. And it's like, yo, you hit. There's no way around that, man. All right. The only way around that is not going near it. All right. And so this is the reason why the S-400 and the S-400 and the F-35 aren't good to have around one another. And not to mention the F-35. All right. I believe it's the 5th generation fighter jet that these nations have out right now. And it's nowhere near comparable to, it's supposed to be, but it's nowhere near on the same level as the Russian Su-57 or the Chinese-made plane, all right? So Russia's already got the upper hand with that. So let's get into some scriptures real quick, because this is all prophecy coming to pass, all right? Ezekiel 38, I'm going to start at verse, I'll start at the top. It says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back, and I will put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth." All right. And, over time, we've been seeing Russia, from the fall of the USSR all the way up until now. The fall of the USSR would be like the death of Russia. All right, in comparison to being a superpower as a threat to America. All right, they had an economic collapse. It was a lot of poverty going on over there. It was pretty much a big ass third world country, pretty much what America's turning into today. All right, but nevertheless, you had their economy collapse, which made their the regular infrastructure inside of Russia collapse and everything else like that. All right, the military wasn't being advanced because of they had their little puppets over there, and they was just fleecing the flock and everything else like that. So they weren't, their mind state was not to let's advance our military, because again, the people they had over there was like, look, we're going to kind of sit on top of Russia this way so that they don't ever wake up to be a threat unto us. All right, being America, right? But now you have Vladimir Putin coming in there, All right, brought them their economy back up, brought their money back up, got them into exporting natural gas and things like that. Look at the Nord Stream pipeline situation, man. All right, then they started advancing their military. All right, they started coming out with these like the Satan 1, the Satan 2, the S-300, S-400, S-500, and they're still working on more of these systems. I think the next one they said, I heard about the S-900 a while back, in which that one is going to be the end-all be-all, because with that one they're saying they're going to be able to hit targets inside the missile silos before they even take off. All right, and I think that they got one more in between all of it. Well, the S-500 and the S-900, I think it's S-700. Hadn't heard too much about that yet. But nevertheless, you know, you see how in just a short amount of time since Vladimir Putin has gotten into office, all right, how much their weapons are starting to advance. All right, you know, they have hypersonic missiles that work. All right, they have nuclear powered cruise missiles, not meaning like they're not nuclear missiles, right? It's not like a nuclear bomb going off, but the fuel source that they're using to, you know, to drive the damn missiles is a nuclear powered fuel source, meaning you basically have an unlimited supply of gas. So they can shoot these little cruise missiles off and they can fly indefinite. All right. So one of the things that they can do with that is, let's say you have 3 missiles, right, to go and hit one target, right? And you shoot off these missiles. Now, the first missile hit the target, blow up the target, boom. Now, the other 2 missiles, while they're still in flight on their way to that target, all right, they can be well, they're programmed to sit there and search out a different target. So now they can change course. So, you know, let's say hypothetically for, you know, just for easy, you know, picture, you shoot off some, Russia shoots off some missiles, let's say they on the East Coast, right? And they shoot off some missiles to hit New York. Well, let's say one of them hits New York, boom, right? Now you have 2 more missiles flying in target. The other 2 may change directions. The next one may go and hit DC, and the third one, let's just say, hits I don't know, Boston or something, Florida or some shit like that, you know? So they can change rate while they're in the sky. Now, let's say you shoot off a missile to chase that missile down and shoot it out. All this got to do is it can fly up, fly down, fly left, fly right, you know, get off a radar, or it can let you just chase it down until you run out of fuel, because these missiles can fly indefinite pretty much. They can just keep circling the globe round and round and round and round and round. All right. But nevertheless, they have, like I said, the hypersonic missiles, the nuclear powered missiles. They have these long distance missile defense systems and things like that, man. So Russia is coming up on the advance right now, man. Not to mention their Su-57 fighter jet, man. All right, it says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. I will bring thee forth and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all them handling swords. And so now we've really only had, well, we've had a bunch of different weaponry or armory being announced from Russia over the last few years and things like that. But, you know, you've had basically one dump of weapons, more or less to say, that were offensive weapons that have come out. All right. When they started talking about the hypersonic missile, I believe it's called an Avangard. When they started talking about that, the nuclear powered cruise missiles. All right. And they had one more. But nevertheless, these were all pretty much your so-called offensive weapons. All right. And they didn't really get that much of news and play in the news as far as how much all these other systems are getting that much publicity. All right. So you see in Russia develop a lot more defensive weapons. All right. These missile defense systems more than anything. All right. So over the years, we've seen them upgrade the S-300s and things like that and really put them into play. All right. You know, the S-400s. All right. And I think they have maybe 1 or 2 versions of that. Or maybe the S-300. They have like 2 or 3 versions of that. But nevertheless, they have the S-300, S-400. Now they're coming out with the S-500, which already talks to the newer systems, all right, with the defense systems, all right? And, you know, America's still basically rolling with the THAAD and the Patriot system, which would be equivalent to like Russia's like S-200 or S-125, which really goes back to like pretty much what the hell Hitler and them pretty much had going on and everything else like that. So because this is where all these systems come from. They all come from Germany at those days. They're just pretty much upgrading them. Like I said, with the S-400 and things like that, you know, they increase the radar range, increase the missile range, increase the type of warheads they have, and things like that. But the technology is pretty much an older technology. They're just upgrading it and upgrading it and upgrading it. You know, it's like you have an old desktop computer with an old floppy disk. All right, then you exchange that out for a CD-ROM. All right, then you exchange that out for USB drives and things like that, or what do they call them, standalone, or those like hard drives and shit you just plug in with a USB. All right, you don't really need the CDs no more, but it's the same computer tower. You just plugged in some new shit. You know, you're not using the same floppy disk, but you took that old drive out and you put a new drive in. You know, it's the same thing. They just upgraded it, right? So it says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even with a great company, with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmet. Gomer and all his bands in the house of Tomargar of the north quarters, and all his bands and many people with thee. All right. And so they keep talking about here about the helmets, the bucklers, the shields, and the armor. All right. Going into a lot of these missile defense systems. And this is what you're starting to see them. Well, let me read the next verse. It says, be thou prepared and prepare thyself. And this is what you see Russia doing right now. Not only are they preparing for themselves right now, it says, and all the company that are assembled unto thee, be thou a guard unto them. Russia's saying, look, as soon as we can get the volumes up to what we need on our side and get Moscow, surrounded with these S-500s and everything else like that, in which I'm pretty sure they already got some out there, but it's more or less not to say, they don't have a reasonable number to say, all right, we actually got them in in play or whatever, or like we're not actually using them like that. They're not, all right, we'll give it to you in a car. You got a car, they build prototypes, now before, from the prototype phase to the production phase, that's the word, in production. They don't have them in production. Maybe the CEO or the owner of the company may have one that was like a production made car, but you know what I'm saying? Let's say they got these new Ford F-150s out. Well, just because they got about 5 of them on the road right now, meaning like the CEO and top people got them on the road, don't quite mean that they out for consumer consumption. All right. So nevertheless, once they get these out there, their plan is to sell them to their ally nations, and any nation that's pretty much, in alignment with them, and this is the same thing that America's been doing, and what they're still trying to do with these nations that's up on Russia's borderline, as far as selling them missile defense systems and things like that, and putting their nuclear arsenal and nuclear warplanes on their borders, man. All right. So let's continue on from there. I was going. What is that precept I was looking for real quick? We'll come back to that. Let's go over here to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse. There's a lot in here we can read, but I'm only going to read a couple precepts. Is it further down? All right, here we go. Let me start up at verse 22. Jeremiah 50 and 22, it says, the sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is a hammer the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? All right, and so we're going to go into, the tool that's going to be used ultimately to take out America, man. All right, these are the tools that's being developed right now to make America's military obsolete, to basically render America's sword useless. All right. It says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and caught, because thou hast striven against Yahuwah. Yahuwah hath opened his armory and hath brought forth his weapons of his indignation. So going into this, it says Yahuwah hath opened the armory and has brought forth the weapons of his indignation. So ultimately, this is the Most High's plan as far as working on the minds of these kings. All right, as Proverbs 21 says, working on the minds of these kings to have them to develop these weapons, have them to bring these weapons out, have them to test all these weapons. All right, because this is his whole purpose. His purpose is to do what? It's to destroy Babylon. All right. It says, for this is the work of Yahuwah power of hosts in the land of the Chaldees. Come up against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her as heaps, and destroy her utterly, let nothing be left. All right. Well, let me read this as well, too. Verse 28. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahuwah our power, the vengeance of his temple. Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about, and let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she have done, do unto her. For she have been proud against Yahuwah and against the Holy One of Israel. So going into this, we see that Russia is preparing to not only develop the rest of these defensive weapons, but when it comes to these offensive weapons, as far as these nuclear missiles and things like that, a lot of people are afraid of North Korea, all right, and Iran developing nuclear weapons, all right. These nations do not need to develop nuclear weapons, all right. They would just buy them from Russia or America, all right. Look at all the other nations that have nuclear weapons. There's more than just Russia and America with nukes, all right. America allies have nukes, but none of those nations have developed nuclear missiles. They get them from America, all right. Israel and all of them, they don't develop nuclear missiles. They just buy them from America. So the same with these other nations, all right. Russia's going to be a guardian to them and wind up selling these nations these missiles, all right. There's another precept in here I want to grab. Let me go. Here we go. I need to jump up a lot. Let me go up. Let me read from verse. Let me go up first and then come back down. Jeremiah 50:9, it says, "For lo, I will raise the cause to come up against Babylon, an assembly of great nations from the north, and they shall set themselves in array against her." All right. So we just read about, Russia being a guardian to these other nations. So here it says an assembly of great nations from the north country. All right. And they shall set themselves in array against her. And as you see the battlefields being set, it's going to be NATO versus basically, again, the USSR, or they'll probably call it something different, but Russia, Russia and their allies. All right. So it says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her." All right. So the battlefield is set. "From thence she shall be taken." All right. Going into those intercontinental ballistic missiles from one country to another country. "Their arrow shall be as a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain." All right. So, hey, these missiles are going to be smart missiles. And this is what they're doing right now with all these different missile tests and everything else like that, man. All right. Getting ready for the battle. Jumping down to verse 40, it says, "As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith Yahuwah, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Behold, a people shall come from the north, a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth." All right. It says, "They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel. They will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea. They shall ride upon horses, everyone put in array, like a man to the battle against the old daughter of Babylon." All right. And so ultimately, let me read verse 43. "The king of Babylon have heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as a woman in travail." So, hey, man, a lot of these top military men and things like that, they understand that they're outpaced by Russia and the pace that Russia's moving at, all right? They can't do anything against these weapons that Russia is over here developing, all right? Let me read one more precept out of here. I think it's two more precepts in here. Jeremiah 51:11, it says, "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields," all right? So as far as going into these developments of these weapons and things like that, right? It says, "Yahuwah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes." All right. So it's the Most High that's working on the minds of these kings here that's doing all this here work, man. All right. I quoted this, but let's read it. Proverbs 21:1. "The king's heart is in the hand of Yahuwah as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will." So ultimately, it's the Most High that's doing all these or putting these plans into the minds of these rulers and things like that, whether they're signing deals with this nation and that nation. What kind of spirit had to be put on Erdogan to sit there and defy America and say, you know what, even though we with y'all with NATO and we understand that y'all can't have this here plane, they was part of developing the F-35. All right, the heads-up display and other components of that damn plane. All right, and they have a great nuclear. Well, America has a great nuclear strategic location while housing their stuff right there in Turkey. But nevertheless, America basically, or Turkey was basically in the mindset is like, you know what? We know America say we can't buy these S-400s, but fuck it, we gonna buy it anyway. So they signed the paperwork, and it was a while before it got delivered. America was pissed, through sanctions on them. Turkey put sanctions back on America. The temper started calming down. They took possession of it. America got mad. All right. Then ultimately they came back on around and said, you know what? We're going to buy some more of these damn S-400s, man. So what kind of spirit had to be put on Erdogan to wind up doing all these things with knowing it's like, you know what? At any point in time, America could just turn on your ass and nuke your ass. Well, these prophecies had to be played out, man. All right. Where these America's allies are going to wind up turning on them. Or we'll close out with that. America's allies are going to turn on them. All right. But all these nations with these missiles going to wind up all shooting them on America, man. All right. It says 51:11, Jeremiah 51:11, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahuwah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his what? His device is against Babylon. All right. To do what with it? To destroy it. All right. So what kind of device can destroy a whole land? All right. These thermonuclear missiles, man. All right. Shot off with these ICBM, the intercontinental ballistic missiles, man. Once they touch down over here in America, man, the whole earth is going to reel to and fro, man. Turn this place into the lake of fire. All right. It says, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahuwah, the vengeance of his temple. So ultimately going into this here, these prophecies of why Russia is developing and advancing in these weapons and things like that is ultimately for the Lord's purpose to accomplish with, well, let me read it right here. Jeremiah 51:28, prepare against her the nations with the king of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of Yahuwah shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitants. So it's the Most High using Russia as a tool, all right, to render these American Edomites' sword useless, all right? All their weaponry that they're coming up with now is rendering all of America's weaponry useless, obsolete, to where there's no point in them even trying to work on their shit no more. Like, look, you trying to come up with a hypersonic missile. We already got hypersonic missiles for one. But two, now we got something to shoot that hypersonic missile down. Even if you did develop the shit, we can shoot it down. Oh, you got a stealth fighter jet? We can see a stealth fighter jet. Oh, you got nukes? Well, we got better nukes. We got longer range nukes. We got bigger warheads. So whatever you can do, we've already done it, and we've already done it better, man. What you trying to accomplish, we've already perfected that. All right. Why? It says, let me read it again. It says, and the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of Yahuwah shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitants. All right. So ultimately going into these things, man, well, we could keep reading on down, but, the point is pretty much made there. Let me just close out with this in Obadiah 1:7. It says, touching in on Turkey. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There's no understanding in him. So going into that, the men of thy confederacy have brought thee to the border. The men that was in league with you, the men that was allies with you and things like that, brought you to the border. Now they brought you out. I thought, wait, we was homies and we was cool and everything else like that. I thought, we was all good. Then all of a sudden you're going to double cross me. You're going to turn your back on me and everything else like that. And then now they up with, like I said, they try to put sanctions on them, and then sanctions got put back on America, and it's just starting to boil up and boil over and things like that, to the point where it's like, look, if y'all want to go to war, we can go to war. But don't think you're going to come over here with your plane because you need air superiority to come and dominate, but you didn't lost air superiority. So now you're going to have to find another way to come in and attack us, because we can shoot you out the sky before you even get close. All right, we can see you before you even approach, man. So what you really want to do? It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, and the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There's no understanding in him. So ultimately, going into this here lesson, we see Russia's developing, more and more their missile defense systems and offensive weapons as well. All right, and they have plans on selling these weapons to these other nations, being a guardian to these other nations. But we see in America and their allies getting on rocky roads and falling down. All right, we see in war starting to bubble up around in the world, man. All right, I said I was going to close up, but I'll close out with this last one right here. Matthew 24:3, it says, and as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us what shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming? Jumping down to verse 6, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. With that, I want to say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, in pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Till next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.